Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to share with you a powerful lesson that holds the key to extraordinary success in life. Be brave, but stay silent. Bravery is often misunderstood. Society tends to paint bravery as loud, bold, and in your face. But real bravery is quieter than that. It's not about how loudly you can shout or how many people can hear your voice. True bravery lies in the ability to choose the right moments to act, knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to remain still. This kind of bravery requires a deep level of self-awareness and discipline. It's about having the courage to pause, to observe, and to respond with intention. In many situations, we feel pressured to react immediately, to jump into action without fully understanding the context. The world around us moves fast, and it can be easy to get caught up in the chaos, but there's a profound strength in stepping back and choosing not to react impulsively. Bravery in this sense is about taking a moment to reflect, allowing yourself time to consider all options before making a move. It's in these moments of stillness that we are able to access our deeper thoughts and emotions, the ones that are often drowned out by the noise of everyday life. When you step away from the immediate pressure to act, you can see more clearly. You can think more critically. And you can make decisions based on wisdom rather than impulse. It's easy to confuse bravery with speed. In our fast-paced world, there's often an assumption that those who act quickly are the most courageous. But real bravery is found in the ability to hold back, to wait for the right moment. Speed does not always lead to success. And the bravest people aren't always the fastest movers. They're the ones who take the time to assess the situation thoroughly, to understand the consequences of their actions, and to wait for the opportune time to act. The key to this kind of bravery is patience. It requires a level of trust in yourself and your instincts, knowing that the right time will come. When you've cultivated this trust, you'll find that your actions carry more weight because they're rooted in clarity and confidence. True bravery also involves the strength to remain calm in the face of adversity. When everyone around you is panicking or scrambling to solve a problem, the brave person stays composed. They resist the urge to react in haste, and instead they take the time to think through the situation logically and with a clear mind. In this sense, bravery is also about emotional intelligence, the ability to control your emotions and not let fear, anger, or stress dictate your actions. Remaining calm allows you to make decisions with a level head. And it also allows you to be a stabilizing presence for others who may be looking to you for guidance. Another element of bravery that often goes overlooked is the courage to say nothing. In a world where everyone seems to have an opinion and everyone is eager to share it, there is tremendous strength in the ability to hold your tongue. Choosing silence doesn't mean surrendering or being passive. In fact, it's often the most powerful thing you can do. Sometimes saying nothing allows you to listen more deeply, to learn more, and to understand the situation better. It gives you the space to process your thoughts before expressing them, ensuring that when you do speak, your words are thoughtful and impactful. This type of bravery requires discipline, being able to resist the urge to immediately jump into the conversation, instead taking the time to think about what you're going to say and when the best time to say it might be. Choosing when to act, when to speak, and when to remain silent is an art form. It requires a balance of confidence and humility, courage, and patience. When we can master this balance, we become more effective in everything we do. Whether it's in our careers, our relationships, our personal growth, learning to pick our battles and wait for the right opportunities allows us to have a greater impact. The bravest people are often the ones who don't feel the need to prove themselves constantly. They understand that sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is to step back and wait for the right moment. It's in these moments that you'll find your true power. Silence is one of the most powerful tools at our disposal, yet it is often underestimated. In a world where people are encouraged to speak up, to make noise, and to assert their presence at every opportunity, silence can seem counterintuitive. It may feel like weakness, passivity, or even avoidance. But in reality, silence is a powerful form of strength and clarity. It is within these quiet moments that we find the ability to focus, reflect, and connect with our true selves. Silence allows us to shut out the distractions of the external world and tap into the deep well of wisdom that resides within us. When we embrace silence, we open up a space for clarity. In a world filled with constant noise, both external and internal, it can be difficult to hear our own thoughts, let alone access our deeper intuition. Silence creates the environment in which we can hear what's really important, the inner voice that guides us toward our true purpose. Without silence, we are constantly bombarded by the opinions, judgments, and distractions of others, which can cloud our ability to think clearly. In moments of stillness, we can assess situations more objectively and with greater focus, allowing us to make decisions based on insight rather than emotion or external pressure. Silence also provides us with the opportunity to reflect. Reflection is an essential part of personal growth and development, but it's something that requires quiet space. When we are caught up in the rush of everyday life, it's easy to overlook the lessons that each experience offers. By stepping into silence, we give ourselves the opportunity to review our actions, consider their impact, and learn from them. Reflection allows us to acknowledge what we've done well, identify areas for improvement, and adjust our course accordingly. Without this reflective pause, we risk repeating the same mistakes over and over again, never fully evolving or advancing. In addition to providing clarity and reflection, silence also fosters patience. In our fast-paced, results-oriented society, we're often encouraged to take immediate action and expect quick results. The pressure to act quickly can lead us to make rash decisions without fully considering the consequences. But silence teaches us to wait. It allows us to develop the patience necessary to make decisions that are thoughtful, deliberate, and well-considered. In these moments of stillness, we are able to resist the impulse to rush, knowing that some decisions require time to unfold. The ability to wait for the right moment to act is a form of wisdom that only comes through practice and experience. It's in these quiet moments of patience that we give ourselves the best chance of success. Another profound aspect of silence is its ability to give us space for emotional control. When we are emotionally charged, whether due to frustration, anger, or excitement, it can be difficult to think clearly. In these moments, silence allows us to regain control of our emotions and prevent us from acting impulsively. By taking a step back and embracing silence, we create the emotional distance necessary to process our feelings without being overwhelmed by them. This emotional clarity allows us to make decisions based on reason rather than reaction. It also allows us to respond in a way that is measured, thoughtful, and aligned with our values. Silence is also a form of communication, and in many cases it can communicate more than words ever could. In conversations, silence can be a powerful way to convey respect, understanding, and attentiveness. When we remain silent, we show the other person that we are fully present, that we are listening and considering what they have to say. In contrast, speaking over someone or interrupting them can often undermine the conversation and create tension. By choosing silence in these moments, we demonstrate maturity and emotional intelligence. Silence can create a deeper connection, allowing both parties to feel heard and understood. Furthermore, silence can provide us with the strength to resist the urge to justify or explain ourselves constantly. In a world where we feel the need to defend our choices and actions at every turn, silence can be a form of confidence. When we stand by our decisions without feeling the need to explain ourselves, we demonstrate that we trust ourselves and our judgment. This silent confidence speaks volumes, as it shows that we are not swayed by the opinions of others, but are grounded in our own beliefs and values. Silence in this sense is not about being passive, it is about standing firm in your truth without needing validation from anyone else. In a world that prizes noise and constant communication, silence is a powerful and transformative tool. It allows us to find clarity, reflect on our experiences, cultivate patience, gain emotional control, and communicate more effectively. By embracing silence, we are not withdrawing from the world. True strength is not found in the constant need to defend yourself or justify your actions. In fact, the more you feel compelled to explain yourself, the more you might be signaling a lack of confidence in your own choices. There's a profound power in standing firm in your truth, in knowing who you are and what you believe in, without feeling the need to prove it to anyone else. This is where true strength resides. When you no longer feel the need to explain yourself at every turn, you've tapped into a deep well of self-assurance that cannot easily be shaken. We live in a world that often encourages us to seek validation from others. Whether it's from peers, colleagues, or even strangers on social media, there's a constant pressure to seek approval, to have our actions recognized, and to be seen as successful or competent. But this need for external validation can be limiting. It's exhausting to constantly defend your decisions, explain your choices, and justify your actions. The truth is, when you're constantly explaining yourself, you're spending your energy on things that don't truly matter. You're allowing others to dictate your sense of worth instead of finding it within yourself. When you embrace the idea of not needing to explain yourself, you begin to experience a shift in how you approach the world. You start to act from a place of confidence, rooted in your own values and beliefs rather than from a place of insecurity or fear. This shift is subtle, but it is transformative. You begin to move through life with a sense of inner calm, knowing that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You are who you are, and that's enough. This is the quiet strength that comes from self-assurance, the ability to make decisions, take actions, and move forward without feeling the need to seek approval or provide an explanation for every choice you make. The reality is that not everyone will understand your journey, and that's perfectly okay. People may question your decisions, judge your actions, or offer unsolicited advice. But when you are rooted in your own truth, their opinions become irrelevant. You learn to listen to your own inner voice, to trust your own instincts, and to make decisions that align with your purpose and values. You no longer feel the need to explain why you're doing what you're doing because you know deep down that you're on the right path. You trust that your choices are based on what's best for you, not on what others expect or think. This doesn't mean you stop being open to feedback or constructive criticism. It simply means that you stop seeking approval for every decision you make. When you stop explaining yourself, you open up space for greater personal growth. You start making decisions more intuitively, based on a deeper understanding of yourself and your desires rather than on external pressures. This newfound freedom allows you to take bold steps, to make decisions that might not always make sense to others, but that are aligned with your true vision for your life. Not feeling the need to explain yourself also means learning to set boundaries. In relationships, work environments, and personal situations, there will always be people who try to impose their opinions or desires on you. But when you've developed the inner strength to stand by your decisions without needing to justify them, you gain the ability to say no without guilt. You can set clear boundaries around your time, energy, and resources, knowing that you are not obligated to explain or justify every choice you make. This is a powerful form of self-respect, recognizing that your time and energy are valuable and that you don't need to justify how you choose to spend them. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to others or stop caring about their perspectives. Rather, it means that you value your own peace of mind and self-respect more than the opinions of others. You've learned that your worth doesn't come from seeking approval, but from standing firm in your truth and acting from a place of integrity. When you stop explaining yourself, you also stop giving others the power to determine your sense of self-worth. You take back that power, and in doing so, you reclaim your freedom and your confidence. This freedom to act without explanation opens the door to greater fulfillment. You become more aligned with your own desires and goals, more attuned to what's truly important to you, and less distracted by the noise of the world around you. You can move through life with a sense of direction, knowing that you are making decisions based on your own values and vision, rather than trying to meet the expectations of others. The more you trust yourself and your decisions, the more empowered you become. You begin to understand that your actions speak for themselves, and you no longer need to justify or explain them to anyone. Choosing when to act, when to speak, and when to remain silent is an art, and mastering it can transform the way you approach life. It's not something that comes easily, nor is it something that can be learned overnight. It's about finding balance in moments of uncertainty, knowing when to hold your ground and when to let things unfold naturally. This ability to navigate life with purpose and patience is essential for long-term success, personal growth, and meaningful connections with others. The key to mastering this balance lies in self-awareness. When you know yourself, when you are deeply connected with your values, beliefs, and desires, you can approach each situation with a level of clarity that helps you make better decisions. Self-awareness allows you to differentiate between impulses and intuitive knowledge. It gives you the wisdom to know when to act swiftly and decisively and when to pause and reflect before responding. In the fast-paced world we live in, many people rush into decisions without fully understanding the consequences. But when you understand yourself, you can avoid the temptation to act out of fear or uncertainty. You gain the confidence to wait for the right moment, knowing that timing is everything. Timing is often the most critical factor in making the right decision. The ability to wait for the right moment to act when the conditions are aligned, when your thoughts are clear, and when you're confident that your actions will have the intended impact is a powerful skill. It requires a great deal of patience and trust in the process. Trust that things will unfold in their own time, that the right opportunities will present themselves when they are meant to. This kind of trust takes time to develop. It comes from understanding that not everything needs to be forced, not every decision requires immediate action. Sometimes the best decision is the one you don't make right away. Equally important is the ability to remain silent when the situation calls for it. Silence is often viewed as passive, but it is in fact an active choice. In many situations, saying nothing is the most powerful thing you can do. It allows you to gather your thoughts, to listen, and to observe before making a response. Silence can also be a form of strength, showing that you don't need to fill every moment with words or explanations. When you choose to stay silent, you are not withdrawing from the situation. You are allowing the space for clarity, understanding, and deeper reflection. This can be especially powerful in conversations, whether personal or professional. Sometimes, the best way to communicate is not through words, but through the ability to listen, to truly understand the other person's point of view, and to wait for the right moment to share your own thoughts. This ability to remain silent also applies to action. There are moments in life when the best course of action is not to rush in, but to step back and let things unfold naturally. Sometimes we feel the need to take charge or to control every situation, but in doing so, we often create unnecessary complications. There's a power in letting go, in trusting that things will resolve themselves if we give them the space to do so. This doesn't mean being passive or lazy. It means having the patience and wisdom to allow things to evolve at their own pace. It's about knowing that not everything is within your control. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply step aside and watch things unfold. Mastering when to act and when to remain silent also involves a certain level of humility. Recognizing that you don't always have all the answers, that you are not always the expert in every situation, and that sometimes the best thing you can do is listen or wait is an important aspect of personal growth. It takes humility to acknowledge that your actions may not always be the best course of action, and that in some cases, silence is the wisest choice. This humility leads to greater wisdom. As you learn to trust the process and allow space for others to contribute their thoughts, ideas, and perspectives. The more you practice this balance of action and silence, the more intuitive it becomes. You start to recognize patterns and understand the dynamics of different situations. You learn when to speak up and when to hold back, when to take action and when to let go. With each experience, you grow more confident in your ability to navigate the complexities of life, knowing that you are in control of your choices and your responses. This control is not about force or aggression. It's about understanding when to exert your energy and when to conserve it, when to step forward and when to step back, and when to let things unfold on their own. This is the mastery of life itself, the ability to act with intention and purpose, while also knowing when to be still and allow the world to reveal its own wisdom. Silence is not weakness. It is not avoidance or passivity. Silence, in fact, is one of the most powerful forms of communication and strength. We often think that in order to assert ourselves, we must speak loudly, express every thought, and ensure that our presence is known. But the most impactful and profound moments often come when we choose to remain silent. This form of silence is not about being passive. It's about being present, thoughtful, and deliberate. In a world that pushes for constant noise and attention, silence becomes the quiet force that propels us forward, grounding us in who we are rather than who the world expects us to be. The strength of silence lies in its ability to connect us to our inner wisdom. When we are surrounded by noise, whether it's the chatter of others or the constant stream of information, it can be difficult to hear ourselves, to truly listen to what our minds and hearts are saying. Silence creates space. It creates the environment necessary for reflection, for tapping into our deepest thoughts and desires. In moments of stillness, we can access clarity, seeing situations from a fresh perspective, free from the clutter of external influences. It's in the silence that we hear our own voice, loud and clear, guiding us toward the next step, the right decision, the most aligned path forward. In addition to its ability to connect us with ourselves, silence also has the power to communicate with others in a profound way. When we remain silent, especially in the face of conflict or disagreement, it can communicate strength and resolve. In many situations, we feel the need to defend ourselves, to explain our actions, or justify our beliefs. We feel pressured to speak in order to make ourselves understood or accepted, but the bravest people are often the ones who know that their actions will speak louder than words. They understand that silence does not imply weakness, but rather the confidence that they do not need to explain or justify their decisions to anyone. Their silence communicates trust in themselves, in their choices, and in their ability to stand firm, regardless of the opinions of others. Silence also provides the space for others to speak. In conversations, when we allow the other person to share without interrupting, we create an environment where they feel heard and valued. Silence is not just a tool for self-reflection, it is also a powerful tool for listening. When we listen deeply, without the urge to respond immediately, we gain a better understanding of the other person's perspective. This kind of listening fosters empathy, builds trust, and strengthens relationships. In many cases, people do not need advice or solutions, they need to be heard. When we choose silence, we give them the gift of our full attention, validating their feelings and experiences. In a world that often prioritizes speaking over listening, silence can become the greatest form of connection. Moreover, silence allows us to preserve our energy. In an era where we are constantly encouraged to speak up, to assert our opinions, and to participate in every conversation, it can be easy to overextend ourselves. The need to be heard, to be seen, can drain us emotionally and mentally. Silence allows us to conserve our energy, to decide when and where it is best spent. It prevents us from engaging in unnecessary conflicts, from wasting our time on distractions, and from getting caught in the noise that doesn't serve us. By choosing silence, we are choosing to invest our energy in the things that truly matter, whether that's focusing on our goals, cultivating meaningful relationships, or simply taking care of ourselves. In addition to conserving energy, silence offers us a sense of emotional control. In situations of stress or conflict, our first impulse may be to react, to speak out, to defend ourselves. But reacting impulsively often leads to regret, misunderstandings, or further escalation of the issue. Silence in these moments becomes a powerful tool for self-regulation. It gives us the space to breathe, to think, and to respond thoughtfully rather than emotionally. Silence helps us regain control over our emotions, allowing us to make decisions that are aligned with our values and long-term goals rather than being swayed by temporary emotions. It's in this space that we find the strength to stay calm and composed, no matter what is happening around us. Ultimately, silence is not just the absence of sound, it is a presence in itself. It is the presence of confidence, clarity, and self-respect. It is the ability to remain still when everything around you is moving, to be grounded when everything else is chaotic. Silence gives us the strength to stand in our own power without needing to prove anything to anyone. It allows us to act with intention, to respond with thoughtfulness, and to move through the world in a way that is aligned with who we truly are. There are moments in life when the most powerful thing you can do is not to speak, but to remain silent. In a world where everyone seems to be vying for attention, where talking over each other is often considered a sign of strength, silence stands as a quiet but mighty force. It is a tool that, when used wisely, can convey more than words ever could. Silence is not simply the absence of sound, it is a presence that commands respect, focus, and introspection. It is in silence that we can often hear our deepest thoughts, understand our true desires, and gain the clarity we need to make wise decisions. It's in these moments of quiet that we can connect with ourselves and the world around us in ways that words often cannot. We tend to think that speaking is the only way to make an impact, but silence has its own form of influence. By choosing silence, we often create space for others to express themselves. In conversations, this may mean holding back the urge to interject, to fill the air with our own opinions, and instead allowing the other person to be heard. This simple act of listening, without interruption or judgment, can create a deep bond of trust. When someone feels truly heard, it shows them that their thoughts and feelings are valid. And this can foster connection and understanding in a way that talking over someone cannot. In a world where it's all too easy to talk, silence allows us to step back and truly listen to what others are saying, even beyond the words they use. At times, silence can also serve as a tool for emotional intelligence. When we are overwhelmed by emotions, whether it's anger, frustration, or sadness, the impulse may be to speak out, to lash out, or to seek validation from others. However, responding impulsively often leads to regrettable outcomes. Silence offers us the opportunity to pause, to collect ourselves, and to choose how we respond. By embracing silence, we allow ourselves the time to reflect on our emotions and process them in a way that leads to thoughtful, intentional action. This emotional self-control doesn't mean suppressing our feelings, but rather creating the space needed to understand them before responding. Silence, in this sense, becomes a form of strength that allows us to respond with integrity rather than reacting out of impulse. The act of remaining silent in certain situations can also be an assertion of confidence and self-respect. In moments where others may be questioning your choices or judging your actions, remaining silent can signal that you don't feel the need to explain yourself. You are secure in your decisions, and you do not require validation from others to feel justified in your choices. This type of silence doesn't come from a place of defensiveness, but rather from an understanding that you are grounded in your own truth. It is a powerful form of self-assurance that shows others that you are confident in who you are, and you do not need to justify your existence or decisions. This form of silence exudes power because it comes from a place of inner certainty and strength. There is also great power in silence when it comes to personal growth. In moments of stillness, we are able to reflect on our experiences and assess our progress. Life moves quickly, and in the rush of everyday demands, it's easy to overlook our own growth and development. But silence allows us to step back, to take stock of where we are, and to reflect on how far we've come. It's in the quiet moments that we can evaluate our actions, identify areas where we've succeeded, and pinpoint areas that need improvement. This reflective silence is essential for continuous personal development. It is in these moments that we gain insight into the lessons that life has to offer and can course correct as needed. Silence is also an essential tool for creativity. In a world that constantly bombards us with information, ideas, and stimuli, it can be hard to hear our own creative thoughts. Creativity requires a certain level of solitude, a quiet space where ideas can form and take shape. In the stillness, we have the freedom to explore new ideas, to let our minds wander, and to discover innovative solutions to problems. The best ideas often come in the quiet moments, when we allow ourselves the freedom to think deeply, without distractions or pressure. Silence creates a space for us to tap into our inner creativity and develop the ideas that will propel us forward. The strength of silence is also evident in its ability to help us conserve our energy. In a world that demands constant engagement, it can be easy to overextend ourselves, whether that's through talking, socializing, or constantly responding to the demands of others. Silence allows us to step back, to recharge, and to focus on what truly matters. It prevents us from draining our emotional, mental, and physical resources on things that don't serve us. In the silence, we conserve our energy. In a world that constantly pushes us to speak, act, and assert ourselves, it's easy to forget the immense power of silence. Silence is not a void, but it presents a presence that allows us to listen, reflect, and connect with our deepest selves. It provides the space for clarity, fosters emotional control, and encourages thoughtful action. By choosing silence, we empower ourselves to respond with intention rather than reacting impulsively. In moments of stillness, we can build stronger relationships, tap into our creativity, and preserve our energy for what truly matters. Ultimately, silence is not about saying nothing. It's about making space for everything that truly needs to be heard, both from within and from the world around us.